Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. Hello again, my name is Shannon. I'm going to be your instructor for today. And what I'm going to show you guys is how to use our Copic Classic markers to make some lettering and a beautiful illustration. So what I have is, I'm going to go over first, I'll put this to the side, is just how to use your Copic Classic markers. And I have a couple of little things I want to show off first on just a scrap sheet of paper. And then we're going to go into actually drawing and sketching out our template. So when you guys signed up for this class, you should have seen some PDFs. If not, we did put them in the chat before you guys all got in. And you should see something that looks like this that's gridded. We'll start and kind of sketch out all of our, sorry, I had that upside down. We're going to sketch out all of our words on here. And then after that, we're going to use a light box to transfer our sketch onto a sheet of marker paper. And then we'll go into coloring. So there's quite a few steps that we're going to do today. And I strongly encourage, if I do move too fast, this is going to be recorded so you can rewatch it again if you need to. But again, while I go over some of the basics of classic markers, if you haven't printed this template, please do. And also just grab a blank sheet of marker paper to get started. Okay, so I'm going to lift this up to the screen so you guys can see this. This is the classic 12-piece basic set colors. So down here are the colors that I'm going to use today. I also have my steps I kind of wrote out off to the side. And right here with the black marker, I show off how to use both of the nibs on the marker. So I show how to use the standard fine nib and the standard broad nib. This broad nib is definitely how you get those nice blends. And when you color with the classic, this is the one I'll be using today. And then up here, I have some basic gradations and color blending with the colors in the set that I'm going to use today. So I show how I blend B39 into V09 and other examples here. So that's just some of the basics I want to start off with. And I have a little scrap sheet of paper down here just to follow along with you guys. But I want to show off the classic and the sketch marker because I know a lot of people are familiar with this one, and this is Copic Sketch with Copic Classic right beneath it. So when you look at it, there's a few just physical differences. One has this oval shape and one has a square shape. And one holds more ink than the other. So this ink, amount of ink in the classic marker is actually more. This classic marker though comes in 214 colors versus the full 358 in the sketch. And other differences, this classic marker does not have the super brush nib. It has the standard broad and the standard fine like I showed below. And so we're going to see how we can blend with this marker as well, because you can actually get a lot of good effects with this marker too. Okay, so I'll start off just kind of showing off these two different nibs. So I'll just use the black that's inside this set. And this is the standard broad. If we put it next to the broad nib that's with the sketch marker, you'll notice it's a little bit thicker. It's a little bit wider. It can definitely carry a little bit more color. So in comparison, it just can create a larger stroke, if that makes sense. So with the broad nib as well, because it's a stiff nib, you're going to have a lot of consistency. So if I just draw with the tip of this nib right here and make a line, it's very consistent. Versus if I used a brush nib, you might have a little bit of inconsistencies there. We can also use the small tip right down here, and it will create a very thin line. I'm going to turn my paper a little bit. So you can also use that very small short end of the broad nib to create very fine lines. And then obviously there's the very thick side to create very thick lines. So there's a couple of different ways you can hold and manipulate the classic marker in that broad tip. going into the standard fine, I like to use this nib for detailing, for dots, for also consistent thin lines. This is great for lettering, writing, detailing. I use this one a lot for just making different marks and adding value. Also outlining. So later today in this demo, I'll be outlining certain letters. And so this is something that I like to do just to create that crisp outline. And then I'll go inside to fill the letter with the thicker nib and color that way. So I definitely like to utilize both sides of the marker. And again, I like to use the outlining kind of with this fine nib, and then the filling in with the broad nib. So this is just an example of what you can do with those nibs. And now I just want to show a few blending techniques. So this is the basic set colors that I've got off to the side, and each one is a different color. You know, we have a lighter and darker green, a lighter and darker blue, and those will probably blend easier together because they're the same kind of color. But I want to show how to blend different colors. And so I've got a blue and a violet that I'll be blending together. And I'll just show this example with that broad nib. So I kind of just like to scribble it in and just kind of add the ink to the paper. And then I'll go from the opposite side and kind of overlap just a little bit. So that's just one layer of each color right there. And now I'll actually go over the blue again to make sure this blends a little bit. So now I'll go back in with the B39. I'm actually going to cover the whole thing right up until it meets that violet. And you can start to see by adding more layers, it makes a smoother transition. And there's not a perfect formula for you need to add X amount of layers before, you know, the colors start to blend. It's just visual for me. I will keep adding layers until I feel like it's done. And so for me, I added probably more of the blue than the purple, but now you can see a pretty smooth transition between the blue and the purple. And I'll show another example. I'll just go with these two over here because I'll also show this when we're doing the project, but I'm going to blend maybe the B14 with the light green. Oh, wrong nib. I want to use the broad nib. So I'll just kind of scribble that onto my marker paper. And then for this, I'm actually going to cover a good amount with the green because there's quite a value jump here. I'm going to scribble in some more ink right across that area. Let it dry a little bit. And then I'm actually going to make little lines and try and really separate the ink. So right now it's still wet. You can still see a lot of the ink trying to blend in with the blue. So just let it kind of dry a little bit. And what you can do, I might actually cover all of this blue with the green so that it can really react and make an even smoother transition. Now, obviously, if you want to keep the blue and preserve it, you don't have to do that. But I'll just keep adding a little bit. And one of my secrets to Copic success is starting off a little bit lighter than you think because you'll always add more layers. I'm adding a ton of layers right here. But we're getting a smoother transition between the B14 and the YG03. And just so you guys know, this is a Nina premium cardstock. It's 35-pound paper. Nina is a great brand for crafting, for illustrating. I use it all the time, and I'm more of an illustrator. But this stuff is really nice. Also, when you sign up for the class, I put links to like a Strathmore paper, a Canson paper. So there's a lot of good marker papers out there that Michaels carries. I definitely recommend a thicker paper, especially if you're layering a lot. So that is pretty much just like a little overview. And I will move on to the actual project at hand. Oh, I actually see a question in the chat. Do I worry about the nibs picking up ink? Actually, no, I usually don't worry about that. And if they do get stained, I will take the zero colorless blender and kind of either apply the blender to the nib of the marker that's stained, or I'll just find a scrap piece of paper like this and just scribble it out until the stain is removed. Usually if a nib gets stained, it sticks to the very edge of the nib. If you let it sit there, it's going to soak in and you have more of an issue. You might need to replace the nib, but if it's new stain, you can get rid of it pretty quick. Oh, can I hold this up again? I certainly can. This I completed before the class started. It would have taken a lot of time up, so I just will hold this up. If anyone wants to take a screenshot, please do. Okay. Well, now I'll get on to the project. So I hope you guys were able to print this thing out. I'll also set this off to the side. Okay, and here is what our finished piece kind of looks like. And I chose a thick and chunky text because we're going to fill it in with color. There's so many different lettering ideas out there and different techniques for it, different classes for it. But this is more kind of a block lettering style to get smooth gradations. So that's just why this is kind of formatted the way that it is. And personally, I like to start with the cool colors and kind of make my way into the warm colors. So that's just what I chose to do. Here's another example of what the finished piece looks like. I mounted it on 2 different pieces of construction paper, and I did a slightly different technique here. I went from top to bottom as dark to light instead of the other way around, so you can mix it up that way. But yeah, I just mounted it on a piece of construction paper. Or if you want, when we get done sketching the letters, instead of filling them with markers, you can always outline it and doodle on top of it. You can fill your letters with any kind of art that you want. This is just an example with a pen. So it looks really busy, but there's like fall leaves in here. There's some apples in here. This is just another way you can use, this is Copic multiliner pens. So there's a lot of different things you can do with lettering. I just want to share that as an example. But to get started, I'm going to always keep my finished piece off to the side. Okay, so what I did over here to design this template, and I'm not a professional graphic designer by any means, but when I look at professional graphic designers and how they make their lettering templates, they usually block them out. Sometimes they're symmetrical, like I put a symmetry line down here in the middle, or just a median line. But I want to make sure I know where I want to put emphasis on certain words. So I wanted to put emphasis on always thankful, so I made those ones bigger. Whereas these transitional words, like there's something to be, I made those smaller. So that's just compositionally how I made this off to the side. So with that being said, words like theirs, we have some pretty evenly spaced letters. Whereas always, this W takes up a lot more space than the L. So you need to put that into consideration when you're sketching out your words. So that's just something to keep in mind. And again, I have this line here in the middle to kind of gauge how many letters should fit on one side, how many letters should fit on the other. So that's just, and again, explaining how I got to this template. And with that being said, I have just a regular old pencil here in my hand. It's 0.5, nothing too crazy. I just like mechanical pencils, and so that's what I'll sketch with. And so to start off, I like to start with a skeleton, which is basically just lines. And then once I get those lines filled out, I'll beef up the letters to make them thick. So right here for theirs, we've got obviously 6 letters and 1 apostrophe. So I'm going to try and fit TH and E, maybe a little bit of R on the left side, and then the rest of the word on the right. So let's get to it. I will just lightly press on the paper, lightly, and I'm literally just gonna write the because those are the first three letters. Very quickly and very loose. And then I'm going to add, actually, I might make the R right here, starting from that line. R, E, there's an apostrophe, and S's are always tricky. So that was very quick. It's something I also want to add. When I was in grade school, when I was learning how to write calligraphy, we had to fill out, not calligraphy, sorry, just cursive. We had to use these, I call them highways. So the A, lowercase a, fits below those dotted lines, B, C, etc. I mean, I think everybody kind of knows this. So with this kind of block, I have this imagination, this kind of fake little line here in the middle. And so I'm trying to make my like center line at the H match up there. Same with the E, both E's, and the R to meet up there, and the S. So I'm dividing even this in half again. And that just helps me gauge how I write the lettering. And I'll add that tip of the T there. So I'm going to lift this up to hopefully clarify what I just said. But when you're making these letters, this is just the skeleton stage, as I call it. We're just mapping it out. So we're just making a map. And there's the word there. Okay, and I'll just keep it kind of like that, maybe refine it just a little bit. And I want to make this darker so you guys can actually see it. Normally I sketch very, very light, mostly because if I have to make mistakes, it's a lot more difficult to erase darker or when you press harder to the paper. So there's that first word mapped out pretty evenly. Now I have this massive area here where I have the word always. And so even though the W takes up a ton of space, the L does not. So I'm thinking I can kind of split this down the middle. And so I also want to leave like maybe ½ inch buffer between where I'm going to start my A and the end of this outline. So I'm just going to put 2 lines, kind of make that ½ inch on either side. So I know where my letters will finish, and I will do the same thing. So I have these 2, actually I might just use the yellow to emphasize it, but I have these 2 lines right there before these skinny lines. These ones I designed to be a breaker. So that's where this white space is over here. So there's a pause or like a breathing room between each word. So that's where my breathing room is. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I will start to sketch this letter A. And I also, when I'm sketching, hold my hand further back in my pencil. That gives me way more wrist flexibility. So I'm not trying to get super detailed yet. I'm just free flowing right here. And I'll probably use this top line to connect that. If you want to use the kind of pointier letter A, more of a triangular A, you totally can do that as well. For some reason, I always lean towards these kind of curvy ones. And then I'll leave some space and add the L. Maybe that A is too narrow, I'm not sure yet, but okay. Now I have this big space here. I'm going to draw a vertical line, and that's going to be my kind of half of my W. So I'm going to use this as a like symmetry guide. And come up here, and I'll come up here. Okay, I actually think I want to make some changes and scoot it over a little bit. This is why I sketch things very light. I think that A is a little bit too narrow for my liking. So I'm going to scoot everything over. And then I have this handy dandy kind of pencil eraser. I don't even know what brand it is. I've had it since I was in college. So the brand is kind of rubbed off on it, but these are definitely at Michael's. I've seen them there. And I'm just using it to erase the things that I don't need anymore. And this is also why I sketch pretty light. So there we go. I'm just reiterating it using kind of my grid lines. Oh, and then obviously this is also kind of our halfway line, those little highway markers as I call it. So that's where I'll probably add that center of the A. So that's kind of just my skeleton of the A, L, and the W. But again, I can totally make changes. The sketching process is always the most tedious one. And then I have an A, a Y, and an S. So I will also use this center line as the start to my other A. And I'll start the curve of this arch of this A at the middle, or the middle of this bar here, and bring it around. And then I bring my Y up to meet the bottom of this, this block. So I will do that here as well. Actually, wait. And bring the end of my Y up to this grid line. And then I have an S, and then here's kind of my ending point. So I left some space on either side. Oh, and S's are always tricky, so fear not. Just press lightly. Okay, the A comes up to that line, so the S is going to come up to there. So I'll make this kind of dome shape first, and then I want the S to finish down here. And my name is Shannon, so I know from years of writing my name that S's can be very tricky to make them look nice. Okay. And then I will kind of look about halfway of this letter A and draw that line, even though it's not in the middle. So there's always. And we're looking at, okay. I'm going to do the next word, something, which is a pretty long word. And so I see 4 words here, 4 words, sorry, 4 letters, and then the T, and then 4 letters. And since there's no real beefy, like overly exaggerated letter in this word, I think I might actually use the T as the midpoint. So I'm literally just going to put that sucker right in the middle. So I actually might start with that just to make sure I have a guide. So I'm reiterating the center line and I'm putting in the T. And I'm going to turn my paper to add these, again, little highway marks in the middle of this box. It's just a sketch. So I've got my little road markings. And I guess I'll start with the S, and again, very light because I need to map this out. So making sure that S goes kind of right in the middle. S, O, M, E. Oh, I think I made that. I need to make these just a little narrower to make room for that E. And this is where this pencil eraser comes in handy. S-O-M-E. Nothing makes me question my spelling capabilities like making compositions like these. Okay. There we go, S-O-M-E. And then we got that T in the middle. I know it's hard to see because I've got that median line going. And then we have the H-I-N-G. So I will lightly add that in. And the I just made it linear. I didn't add the little kind of top and bottom part just so it would fit easier. And T-H-I. Maybe that G is a little bit too big. Okay. So there's kind of how I did the word something. And this is all the skeleton part. And in order to get to the coloring, I might just show you how to beef these up real quick and then show you the next step just so we cover everything. But how I beef these up is basically just going around it or fattening the letters. So for the smaller spaces, like there's something, I just keep adding more of the pencil to the letter. For example, I'm just going to fill more space of this O and then refine my edges more. You can also do this part with a Sharpie or a black marker. You can even just use the black marker in this set, for example. And so that way, when you go over and you trace this with your light box, it's very easy to see your lines. So I can just show that here. I'm just trying to fatten up the letters because we worked on the spacing. So I'm just making them thicker. And the good news is this is the sketch. So obviously we can trace over this. And if you don't have a light box on a sunny day, you can even just put this sketch up to a window and place marker paper on top of it. Or you can even use transfer paper. There's a lot of different ways to transfer your sketches onto a clean sheet. But I started using a light box when I was in college because I had very quick deadlines, and it definitely helped the process go faster. So this is all I really mean by beefing up the letters. I'm simply making them thicker. And I'm also just doing very basic types of letters. There are so many different ways to make lettering art. Like, it's unbelievable. So if you want to, get better at kind of medieval style lettering, there's definitely information out there on that. And so I think you guys can kind of get the idea here, but if there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So we use the base of all of these, kind of the skeleton, the main part of each letter. And then because I want to color them with my Copics and make them thicker, I'm just going over it. I use my 100 black, the standard fine nib. You can use a Sharpie, you can use your pencil. Normally I just kind of reiterate the lines with my pencil, but any of these techniques would work. And the same thing applies for these larger letters here. So I will kind of pencil sketch these out, however thin or thick that you want them. So again, I'm reiterating this space. And then I'll draw kind of just connector lines. If you want to see more of what that looks like, take your eraser and see if you like how that looks, and then make adjustments from there. Every time I practice this with this template, it comes out a little bit different. But yeah, I'm just trying to beef it up. W's can be tricky. If you want to, like over here, I just did 2 points, but Over here, I made this area at the bottom of the letter kind of fatter. So I can make that adjustment now while I'm still in the sketching stage. So I can kind of go around it. And then let's see, how thick do I want to make this? And I also want to make sure my angles are accurate. And at the very beginning of the demo today, I put in a template that's called Thanksgiving lettering at 5%. Basically, I went over my drawing with a black marker and I scanned it in my computer and printed it at 5% opacity. And so that's one way I was able to successfully kind of make this creation, this version. You can easily color on top of that, do whatever you want. If this is too challenging or you just want to follow along with me, you can obviously print that out and just go right into the coloring. Because this portion does take up a pretty good amount of time. This could probably just be one class in itself, but I do want to show how to blend. So I'm going to move on to show this transitional stage. So let's say we had it all mapped out. I have this example. This is what it looks like when it's all sketched out. Again, I did this before the class started because it does take time. And so what I do is bring out my light box, and I did link this in the class description as well. So I've got my light box, and again, highly recommended. So that's mostly in the screen. Perfect. So all you need to do is put your sketch on the light box. I've got some painter's tape here. So I will tape 2 corners of this sketch. And then I've got my Nina premium cardstock off to the side. And I will turn it on. Hopefully it doesn't blind you or do weird things. Okay, and then I will line it up. Okay, that looks good to me. And then I'll take the painter's tape and tape the other 2 corners. If you want to tape all 4 on the top sheet, you totally can. I just usually do the 2. And then, like I said, when the video is recording this, I hope it doesn't make your eyes hurt. But this is what it looks like. And on a light box, you can also adjust the brightness. Right now, I have it turned all the way up in the hopes that you guys can see this well. But you can hold down the button. You can turn it on and off at the flick of a switch and make it dimmer or brighter. So now with our pencil, we're just going to trace. So I also recommend here, because it's very easy to press harder than you think because you can't really see your lines all that well, definitely continue to trace lightly. So this is what I do when I have a rough sketch or I use a grid like we did here. For more complex illustrations or lettering templates like this, I always have a grid. It really, really helps me and makes the process go faster. And so whenever I need to transfer to a clean sheet of paper to complete my finished piece of art, I just use a light box. So again, this process is also pretty tedious. Oh no, I don't have that sketch available quite yet with the leaves and whatnot. I did not scan that before the class, I'm sorry. But I can show you how to do that, absolutely. So yeah, and then I'll turn this off. And so we just see the word theirs. So again, nothing too fancy. Obviously I missed finishing out my T there, but this is what you see underneath. This is what you see on top. And for anything, even like if you want to practice just getting the hang of drawing, light boxes are nice, just practicing tracing. When I was in college, I went to art school at SCAD in Savannah, Georgia. And one of the first assignments we had in Drawing 101 was trying to copy a master painting by using the same techniques as the masters did. And we tried to like put our head inside what the master was doing. And sometimes when you just practice like that, it really does help with your own skills and seeing how those professionals do it. So there is no shame in practicing tracing or practicing just on grid paper or graph paper. You can always transfer those drawings with a light box. So definitely very handy tools. And if you want, because I'm still very comfortable with hand lettering and doing things by hand, you can scan this into your computer. You can vectorize these letters in Adobe Illustrator. My personal work is probably 90% traditional, editing or tweaking digitally. So you can definitely do both. And I'll just complete this letter, and I want to get to the good stuff with the with the coloring. So essentially, we have the light box, and all we do here is just trace over our letters. So again, for the sake of just the 1 hour demo, I'm going to go ahead and move on to show you how to color. So I will kind of wrap this up, because I do want to use this as an example to show what I did earlier with the multi-liner pen. I'm going to move very swiftly here. And we'll just stop here with these 2 words. I will remove the tape. Okay. And so let me get my examples. So we have sketched everything out on our grid. We have transferred everything onto our marker paper. The final step is the coloring. Woo! So again, I have some examples and kind of what you can do when you're finished with the piece. I will put this one off to the side. Okay. So there we go. And I will kind of stick with what I've shown over here to the left with the fade of the cool colors into the warm colors. And so I'll start up here with theirs, and I'm going to blend our B39, which is our very dark Prussian blue, with our violet V09. And so I'm going to start off with the standard fine nib, this really skinny one, and I'm going to outline half of each of these letters, the top half, because I'm going to go on these top words, dark to light, and then down here, light to dark. So there's a nice fade and transition with the colors. So I'm going to just start to do this. So outlining, pressing pretty light. This marker actually debuted back in 1987, and it's typically used by like designers. I know a lot of like car illustrators or like industrial designers use these ones. So definitely different types of markers for different types of artists, but not a lot of people know that you can actually make really good blends with these. Okay, so it looks kind of weird right now, but I just literally outlined just the top. And now I'll take that violet, the V09, so that's what I'm going to blend it into. And I will finish outlining the bottom half of the word. And this is just what I like to do, kind of pre-outline, just so I don't go outside my lines. I see a question in the chat about magnetized frames on light boxes. I just found the light box that I just used. It was in the store at Michael's, so that's why I got it. Is magnetized light box like you can snap your work easily to the surface? If that's the case, that would be really sweet. You won't have to waste a lot of tape. So, I mean, if the price difference isn't that much, yeah, I would go with the magnetized one. That sounds awesome. I've had the light box I have, like I said, for years. So they might be $100, but like I use it all the time. So it's, for me, it's like Copic. It's more expensive, but definitely worth the purchase. Yeah. Okay, sweet. So there's my word, there's. Woo, nothing too crazy. But the blue into the purple is outlined. Now I'm going to use the thicker broad nib and fill it in. So same with how I outlined the top with the blue, I will fill it. And again, I'm using, if you can see this, hopefully you can. This part, I'm not using the fat part, I'm using this part, if that makes sense, to fill it in. And so I'm angling my marker. I'm filling in half of each word since we've only got 2 colors. So I'm pretty much just splitting it in half. And the apostrophe is just 100% with this Prussian blue color. I am not messing with fading that. So it's one layer of a very dark blue. And then I've got the violet, V09. And since both of these colors end in the number 9, they're both going to be very dark. And so I'm fading this color up into the blue. I'm kind of flicking it, similar technique to what you do when you blend with the super brush nib on the chow or the sketch. But obviously this nib is stiff, so you don't get that flick, but the colors can blend. Okay. So try to make sure my light is setting. It's kind of hard to see, but the blue is the top and the purple's at the bottom. And right now I'm going to add 1 extra layer of the blue to make the transition smoother and to make that top darker. So I will use the blue again. And again, it's kind of more difficult to see the blend with these just because they're 2 very dark colors. For the word always, it'll definitely get more obvious. Okay, trying to lift that up to show, but you can kind of see how the top is darker and it fades to a purple. And next, I'm going to blend 4 different colors in the word always. So I'm going to start with that Prussian blue, go to my ultramarine B39, and then G17, and last B14. So this is all with the classic. And similarly, I will repeat the same kind of steps where I outline about 1/4 of each of these letters with that fine nib. And this is kind of roughly 1/4. So it does take a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. And because these nibs, again, they are stiff nibs, you do get more of the kind of linear line like across here. You can see there's a little bit of a line of where colors start and stop. But just depends on what kind of look you're going for. Again, if you are in industrial design or like to kind of render metallic or metal things like cars or gears, these are definitely way better for the job on that, for the subject matter. Okay, and then I'll just go down the line with the B29. This is a very bright blue. And you don't have to even make gradations here. I'm just trying to show how to blend with these markers, but if you just want to color each individual letter one color, that's totally fine. And if you happen to have sketch markers instead and you want to render with those too, also good. Switch to my green. And this is where you start to see kind of a shift in the palette and how these colors, because they're not blue anymore, like the first two are blue. So when you blend those two, it's much easier than jumping from the blue to the green. Although at least they're still cool colors, whereas like orange and yellow and red, those are warmer colors. So it's always easier to kind of blend within those tonalities, I guess, temperatures of the colors. Yeah, that looks good. And then B14. Okay. So right now we just have this kind of cool looking gradation with the outline going on. So I've established my outlines and the dark to the light. And the area, just because I've done this before, the most difficult blend is the ultramarine to the G17. So that area is going to need a lot of layering. And it's definitely why I recommend a thicker marker paper or a thicker cardstock. And we'll be able to tell because when we flip it over, you'll see nothing stained my table, but you'll definitely see kind of some, not bleed through, but you'll tell on the back how many layers we've added. So thicker nib is standard broad, and I will scribble it in on the top. And I'm also using, as I'm scribbling in this color, the outlining as kind of my indicator of when to stop adding the color down. So that's just another little trick that I've learned when I'm doing things like this that need a transition. Now I've got one of my favorite colors, B39. So I'll go from inside that area with the B39, and I will overlap it just a little to try and bring that color down. And I'm just going to do that all the way across. And this is just the first layer of all of these colors, so it's going to look kind of choppy and not as blended. But that's what layering is for. Make sure I don't go over the lines there. go. So that's our second color. The third one is forest green. And again, this one's going to be the most drastic. So I will try my best to kind of, again, go inside. Not too much, because I still want that blue to shine through. But there's a pretty stark line here. And so I'll just layer that a few times to try and soften it. Same with down here. You don't want to over soak your paper though at one time. So I will most likely kind of fill this in and do it again with the green. Just because your paper can only take so much ink. And so just let it kind of dry and then go back to it. There we go. And then again, I will kind of just add another layer right on that blue line. There's no like, it has to be 3 or it has to be 4 layers. There's no rhyme or reason to when you want to stop layering. It's just whenever you think they're blended pretty good. Like this might be my third time layering. And then I left some space at the bottom of this green area with just one layer of it because I'm going to go over it with the blue. So this is B14. So I'm layering that with the blue. And this is a pretty, I say it's more mid-tone, even though it ends with a 4. Colors that end with 4 can be light to mid-tone. I think this one specifically is more of a mid-tone. And this is also why making those swatch cards like we did at the beginning, things like this is when you start to learn how colors mix. So like I knew when I first did my practice sheet here, like I knew these would blend pretty smooth, but I knew blending these blue with the green would be a little bit more time and layering versus like down here, all these warm colors blend pretty easy together. So that's why I just recommend practicing on these cards, these just scrap sheets of paper. It really does help. And so when you get to the finished piece like this, then you know what colors work because you already swatched them out. And so we don't have too much time left of this class, so I'll try and finish this up and also show other ways to fill in these letters with the multi-liner pens. So we'll layer a little bit more with this blue. I'm moving really quickly. Okay, I will just pause on that. So again, I can keep layering. I'm just going to move on for the sake of time, just to show you guys another technique. But when you add multiple layers, this is the kind of thing you can achieve. The colors are much darker than what they first look like because I layered them so many times. And the more you layer, the darker the color will get. But this is the finished piece, what it can look like. If I went too fast, please feel free to watch this again. But I want to show, just because I had this example, I didn't start coloring yet, but I totally can because this is on marker paper. But all I did was, you can search on Google like fall clip art or fall leaves or something like that. So that's kind of where I got the shapes from. Or if you still have leaves in your yard like me, you can just grab a few and use it as a reference. I have apples in here. I have other leaf shapes and kind of acorns in here. And then like this plaid pattern. So you can fill the letters with whatever you want. That's what's so great about block letters like this. And I like to use the Copic Multiliner 0.5 and the 0.3. So these are my favorites. The 5 I use for outlining, the 3 I use for all the detailing. But yeah, so let's see, colors we haven't used yet. Maybe I'll show some orange and red in one of these. And I will just go over the multi-liner. It's the good thing, they're compatible. So I'm just going to go right on top with my orange. And you can just fill in all the leaves with orange, or I'm going to use this R08, the fine nib, since this area is pretty narrow. And let's say I want to add some detailing right near the middle. Maybe I just want to emphasize these kind of veins of the leaf. So then that's what the fine nib is really good for the details like this. And this shows more of my illustrative side because this is more of the work I'm kind of used to. And then I can go back again with my orange and just go over the red, and that will kind of fade out the color. And I will lift this up so you guys can see in the camera. But layering really does quite a lot. So there we go. We can see how the ink kind of reactivated with the red to create those smoother types of blends. And I'm just going to show this really close to the camera so you guys can see. But these are all just little doodles that I filled the letters with. And you can color this way as well. And then for this word, I have just little apples and apple slices. So when you beginner or more practiced illustrator, you can definitely render very basic looking sketches easily. You can do a lot of different things with your Copic and your multi-liner pens because they are compatible. So just wait for the ink to dry and the markers will not smudge. Do you guys want to see an example of how I drew these doodles, or is there anything else that you guys want to ask in the chat? Because I'd be happy to answer any other questions. Oh, cardstock. Nina Premium Cardstock, a background color. Okay, so like coloring the background of one of these, like, sure, I can do that. Let's see, I haven't used pink yet, so sure, I'll use RV11. And I'm just going to outline the edges and the skinny areas. Actually, this color is very pale. Maybe you can't see it. Maybe I'll switch to like the sky blue color, the light blue. Yeah, so for me personally, when I get into detailed areas like this, I will outline first, and then I will fill. Sometimes I even fill with the fine tip because the area is small. Yeah, I'll fill that in. So it kind of looks like a sky and there's leaves blowing in the sky. So, oops, excuse me, can't look at the paper, but there's kind of like a little sky in the background. And up here, I didn't kind of fade one leaf into one in the next letter. But down in thank you, I actually took like, and this was all in the sketching process, I took my pencil and drew it all the way up. And then I just, obviously erased the space in between, but that's how you get more of like a flushed design. And same with this acorn, you can see obviously it's kind of split in the middle, but it's cool to create kind of a pattern across one letter to the next. So that's also something that you can do when you're doodling. Let's see. Would you do all the backgrounds on each letter the same color? You can. I like kind of that color consistency. So my personal taste would tell me, yes, I'll probably do each of these blue. If you want, you can do, since there's 3 different blues in this set, you can have, the outside ones be light blue, these ones be B29 and these ones be B39. So you can mix up the colors that way. Let me see, look at other questions. But yeah, and then like for basic leaves, like I said, having a reference image in front of you is always nice. And since it is fall, depending on where you are, you might not have fall leaves in Florida near the beach, but you can sketch them out with your pencil. You can just draw directly with your pen. A common leaf shape, I'll just kind of draw a line and then I will connect to either side. There's a basic leaf shape, and then you can make kind of the veins in here. An artist that I would recommend if you want to get better at kind of like doodling or sketching nature. I know Joanna Basford does a lot of kind of techniques on doodling. But yeah, just kind of having reference and just drawing basic shapes from there always is helpful. So yeah, I think we're a little bit over an hour right now, and I know it's a Friday night. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And I think that's about it for today. So I really, really appreciate you guys joining. I know we covered a ton of different stuff from, you know, outlining with our pencil for tracing and then coloring. So if you need to watch this again, it'll be up on Michael's YouTube within a few days. I really, really appreciate you guys joining me on your Friday night. And yeah, thank you guys so much.